So you are meditating, you're noticing the breath. But what is that breath made up of? So notice its sensations. It's made up of different sensations. Different sensations in your nose, your abdomen, rising and falling. You can notice the different parts of the breath, where it starts and ends. And you might also notice that it just happens on its own. Breathing just happens on its own. Now that might be slightly easier to understand, because with breathing, your body's system just functions, like your heart just beats, like your eyes just perceive vision. You don't have to do anything, right? But the harder, the more tricky one for people to start to realize is with thoughts. Because we can be so identified with thoughts. When the thought comes up, when the inner narrator is narrating our lives and pointing out things and saying, now I'm walking, now I'm talking, now I'm, now I need to go home, now I need to do this certain thing. When a narrator in our mind is just cycling through stuff, we can often feel like we are the narrator. But the key with meditation, if you are practicing to observe your thoughts, let's say you are doing a mindfulness practice, it's to start to notice how you are identified with those thoughts. That there's a sense of, I'm this thinker thinking these thoughts. And so, you think the thoughts are you. Not only that, but there's also a subtle sense that you are the one controlling what thought is going to come up next in your head. But the more you meditate, the more you start to realize the thoughts just come up by themselves, spontaneously. And when you meditate, you might realize how difficult it can be to shut off your mind, to quiet those thoughts down. And so, as you meditate and as you observe the thoughts, without interacting with the thoughts, without getting lost in the thoughts, you can start to notice, who's the one thinking? Am I the one thinking, or thoughts just arising spontaneously on its own? They're just appearing. And you might not get that at first, you might not realize that. But keep practicing, keep noticing what are the fundamental or core components of this thing, of a thought. What is the core component of the thought? What is the core component of the breath? Because meditation is about being a scientist of the mind. It's about being a scientist of the mind and noticing all the different things that are going on that make up the senses, that make up what you see, what you observe, what you feel in consciousness. So you are a scientist of consciousness. And when you meditate, you get consciousness gains, bruh. You get consciousness gains. Just like when you go to the gym and you deadlift that 200 kg weight or whatever you guys can do, you get some gains. The meditation is the same deal. You might notice this even with speaking. This is the crazier one. You often feel like, oh, I'm the one speaking. But if you practice a lot of speaking, you practice awareness when you speak, you might notice the words are just coming out on their own. That your brain is on autopilot. It's just speaking on its own. And so let's go into the idea of mental rehearsal. Because have you ever been in the situation where you feel like you have to mentally rehearse what you are about to say? You maybe got a phone call, maybe got a business meeting, and you got to rehearse feel like you have to rehearse. But that's coming from a lack of trust. It's coming from a feeling of fear that, oh, I can't just speak spontaneously and just let it all come out and let the chips fall where they may. You feel like, ooh, I can't fuck up. I have to rehearse, I have to be correct or perfect in my communication. And that is basically an underlying form of that anxiety. So, notice how speech just happens on its own. And if you can't notice this in a conversation with somebody else, maybe practice just noticing it. Maybe just practice noticing it, speaking to a camera. Because then it's kind of easier. Then you don't have anything in the way. Nobody is speaking to you. It's just you speaking to yourself. You uttering the words as they just come out spontaneously, naturally, without any real doership. But that takes time, and that takes ego degradation. It takes the ego to start to calm down and to stop taking the, what's the word for it? Like even when you think of words and the word doesn't come to mind, are you the one that couldn't think of the words? Or are you going to blame yourself? Are you going to criticize yourself when the words don't come out? Are you going to be like, it's my fault, I'm so stupid? Or are you going to be like, the words didn't come out, what can you really do, right? Do you really have control over that? So I think it comes down to control. And our brain wants to say that we are the controller of all these different things. So just think about that today, just think about that. And right now I am at Bondi Beach. It's meant to be a world famous beach, apparently. Famous in Australia, Sydney. It's kind of beautiful. And so, we'll leave you with that. Just think about it, guys. Just think about it. Peace.